And you are very welcome back. I hope everybody had a chance to grab a quick cup of tea. So on the way, because I see him patiently waiting in the waiting room here, on the way in just a couple of moments' time, I'm going to introduce Gary, who's from our P and Maths course, and Gary will tell us all about his program, what he's been getting up to over the last couple of months, what he's going to get up to, hopefully in the next couple of months. So do stay tuned for that. Just to maybe emphasize again, there's a Q&A function on your screen. So if you do hear something you'd like to ask Gary, please do mention it. It is anonymous, so don't worry. I can ask Gary directly on screen, or I can type an answer in myself. So we're after eating. Gary, I'm going to promote you into the main room here. So just while we're waiting for Gary, we're after eating into a few minutes of his time already. So I do apologize. Hello, how are you?
Johnny, how are you? How are you keeping?
Great. And yourself?
I'm very good, very good. Nice to kind of get a bit of structure back to college this week. So it was kind of a good start to the week.
I'd say so. And we will get into all about structure and all about the course now in a few moments' time. But firstly, how have you been keeping? How have the last few months been? And how you got on with things in the current situation?
Well, like everything, it was a challenge for me. It was a challenge for family, for partners, but I just tried my best to remain as positive as possible, and to keep active, to try kind of new things. For example, obviously got involved with DCU and doing a few blogs as well, which was something I never really did before. So I just suppose I just tried to keep on my toes, but obviously there are days where it can be quite tough, quite challenging, but as long as you kind of had some sort of a structure, some sort of a kind of a plan going into each day, that was probably the most important thing I learned over the last couple of months anyways.
Yeah, and I guess that's structure. I think we might talk about that later on, because I know you have plenty of well, interest, I guess, is one way to put it, but outside of your course, and you have, and the blogs, I guess, maybe just to mention that briefly, because the blogs were one that caught lots of people's eyes over the summer, and you were keeping up to date and you're writing different ones. And I remember at the time, you might remember this, but the university president, Professor Derek Keogh, actually got in touch, and I think he reached out directly to you. And I guess it just shows you I guess not only the reach that it had, but I guess the impact that it had for both staff in DCU, but lots of people outside. So the blogs, you might just start with outside of the program. We'll talk about inside the program now in a moment. So we'll work backwards maybe, but outside of the course, what goes on? What are you interested in? How do you keep busy, and what is going on for yourself?
Yeah, well, I suppose first and foremost, like sports is one of the main things. Whether it's playing, whether it's watching sports, and obviously kind of over lockdown there wasn't too much sports kind of going on. So what I actually decided to do was I took up a new sport. I took up tennis over lockdown, because obviously you could socially distance. The club was open as well, and I just saw it as a new challenge, a new kind of adventure. So I joined a tennis club in Naas in Kildare. So that was one thing that kind of kept me busy, a new sport as well, and I could also link it into what I was learning through my course for the netball games and tennis and stuff like that as well. I suppose a huge interest kind of in kind of sports, performance development, personal development. Did an awful lot of reading over lockdown. I kind of set myself a challenge back about a year ago, was to try read 30 books over the next 12 months. So I'm coming up to I'm on my 28th one at the moment.
Well, and what favorite one so far?
Favorite one, I read one by Bill Bryson. It was about the body, so it was kind of just about us, about the body, about the structure, which again, it's something that we deal with every day, but we don't really understand the ins and outs of the human body, and the true functions of a certain part, or how we can utilize a certain part as well. And I suppose the other book was actually a teammate of yours, Philly McMahon's book as well, The Choice. One of the first ones I actually read back about a year ago. It was just a huge insight to kind of his life and kind of challenges he came across as well. So it kind of, I suppose, kind of went well with over the last couple of months, where there was challenges in everyone's personal life, and just how we can potentially deal with them as well. So
yeah, and obviously it's so important So very impressive, and I'm not surprised that you're on 28 out of 30, and you'll probably have the next milestone. Maybe it's I don't know, write your own book. Might be the next one. I've
Maybe
no
one
doubt.
day.
Yeah, yeah, I've no doubt at all. So talk to me a bit about the course. So as I see it, and I studied a couple of years ago now, but sports science and DCU. And there's a couple of people on the line here at the moment who are obviously interested in hearing about PE maths, but it's kind of sat PE maths. There's a PE biology course, there's a sports science, and there's an athletic therapy and training courses. And obviously they're all different programs, but they're not too far away from each other in terms of the faculty and the school that they're situated in. But in regards to PE maths, tell us a bit about it. And we might then jump into maybe one or two of the more, I guess, some of the more interesting modules that you would find most interesting in a couple of minutes. But tell us a bit about the course.
So I'm in my third year at the moment. I went back as a mature student. So obviously it was a big decision, big choice, and it was something teaching I always wanted to pursue. Obviously huge passion, interest in sports, so PE was right up my alley. If I'm being completely honest, when it came to maths, when I was in school, I did pass maths. So if anyone is potentially doing pass maths at the moment and kind of has a fear that, oh, I need to be doing honors level maths to actually get into the course, or kind of, I suppose, succeed in the course. Obviously maths is a huge challenge. It has been a challenge for me. One of the main reasons I wanted to go back was to have that opportunity to go back into schools and teach maths in a slightly different way, where you could potentially relate it to sports, or you can relate it to kind of different, more interesting topics. So that's kind of one of the reasons I decided to go with maths as opposed to biology. Um, and like I said, in my third year, we are fortunate enough to experience work or school placement in 3 out of the 4 years. So in second year, you do a 4-week block. In third year, which we were supposed to have done back a couple of weeks ago, but obviously with the current circumstances, we had an alternative assessment, but that would have been about 4 or 5 weeks. And then in fourth year, which is the larger one, it's about 12 to 14 weeks. So it is great experience in that regards to get out in schools and actually put into practice what you're learning in the lecture halls, what you're learning in the sports halls as well when it comes to the practicals.
We have so much to cover, so I do apologize if I'm jumping around here, but I know there is so much to you and so much to the course. So facilities. So your course is obviously PE involved in it. Facilities. Give us a sense of what you can engage with, what you have engaged with, and as a student, what's available to you.
Yeah. So obviously there's the gym on campus. There's the sports hall as well. We actually used the swimming pool in second year for our aquatics course. So it was in first semester. So every Friday morning, turned up to the swimming pool, which is again a great facility in itself if you're not doing the course, where you can obviously become a member of the gym in DCU, where it's on campus. You have access then to all the gym classes. You have access obviously to the swimming pool. And I suppose if you're potentially on a scholarship, you might even have more access to the sports campus, which is over the far side of Albert Park as well. So just the gym is one of the main things for me, but obviously as a mature student, it's important to have like career advice as well on campus. There's mature student society as well, which you can join up. Plenty of different clubs and SOCs on campus. So there's kind of a wide range of things to get involved with. And again, I'm kind of the sort of person that would like to just try something a bit different when I have that opportunity. So what I did last year was I got involved in the yoga society, which is something again completely new to me, which looking back now and with a bit of hindsight, it was a great choice, especially during lockdown. I was able to bring that sort of practice into the home and even just offer advice to a couple of people as well. I joined the Sustainability Society as well, which again is something completely different. So I just said, right, what can I do to kind of help with the environment and help our kind of country become even greener. So that was something completely new for me, something different. So I would advise anyone that's coming on to DCU is yeah, keep up your usual sports by joining those clubs and societies, but dip your toes in something a bit different. Step out of your comfort zone and experience something new, and you never know where that could bring you.
Yeah, and the way I always describe it, Gary, is like that spider web where you maybe jump into something and you meet somebody else who connects you with somebody else, and by the time and the end of your 3 or 4 year program in DCU, not only do you have your obviously academic value and qualification, but you also have that network and friendships and that, I guess, community that when you do leave DCU and you're part of that for life in terms of the alumni and what that offers. Give it. We was talking to Olivia there a few minutes ago, and she was giving us a sense of the St. Pat's campus, and she was making a strong argument for, well, she anyway, Olivia preferred down there. Give us a sense, and you already kind of did with the careers and so on, but where, like, I mean, what have you found most beneficial, just in terms of facilities, in terms of campus life? I know I met you in the Helix one day and we had a great chat and a cup of tea pre-COVID, and just little things like that, inform. So just gives a sense of maybe outside the classroom, if you had an hour off, etc., what would you get up to?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, obviously the library that's on the campus is a great facility. Obviously, in these circumstances, it's slightly different, but I do know they've put a lot of their material that you can normally go in and borrow online. So that's a great kind of alternative at the moment. But when the library is fully functional, it's a great place, because even just when you walk into the library, there's a great buzz, a great environment, and there's a kind of like a social area downstairs where everyone's kind of chatting, meeting up. Sometimes people meet up in groups. And you also have the availability of booking a study room upstairs on the first floor, second floor, where you can do some of your group work. You can have interactive boards, TVs, if you have presentations to work on. So plenty of good facilities within the library. Also a great place for lunches is underneath the library as well. So I don't know if Olivia was talking about food much on St. Pat's campus, but the wraps downstairs underneath the library are the best.
And I guess that is actually very interesting, because lots of people, and obviously you look at the course and you look 4 or 3 or 4 years, the hours, what campus you'd be on. But I guess it's those little things, where's the best cup of coffee? Where's the nicest wrapper? What's the local off campus? How do you, if you're living on campus or living close, where do you shop, and so on? And I suppose it's them little things that do make a big difference. I just want to mention, while we're here, we're halfway through, if you do have a question, there's a Q&A down the bottom of your screen. They're anonymous. So if you think you want to ask Gary something, feel free to type it in the Q&A box and we'll ask him. So do feel free to do that. We have about 15 minutes or so left. I want to jump back, Gary, for a moment. I want to jump back inside the classroom, because you mentioned already, I guess, the maths, and you came as a mature student from another program that you're in. You came back, you found the maths, particularly in school, you found the maths challenging. Give us a sense, and obviously there's lots of modules you cover, but give us a sense of what you cover in terms of subjects or modules, as we will call them in university, over the, I guess, couple of years, maybe how many you have. Is there examinations, assignments, and that type of thing?
Yeah. So I'll start off with the PE side of things. So you touch on kind of so many aspects of sports science, obviously PE teaching, but a couple of my favorites I mentioned obviously earlier that we did aquatics, which again, I would have just jumped into a pool and started swimming and think I could swim really, really well. But when you actually broke it down, and that's what you kind of learn in the aquatics. So you might be observing your partner in the water and giving some feedback, taking notes. I actually improved my swimming, believe it or not, over the 8 to 12 weeks that we spent in the pool. And it was small little things, but that's what you take as a teacher. For example, if you're fortunate to obviously be working in a school that has a pool on its campus or a swimming pool nearby. So that was a great experience. Also, we do modules such as like gymnastics and dance. And again, they were completely new to me. I like to think that I can dance, but I probably have 2 left feet when it really comes to it. So again, you're breaking things down. You're learning different ways to implement like dancing into the PE hall. So for example, like if you were to go to an all boys school, and as a teacher, if you mention dance straight away, I can guarantee you 90% of the guys like, I'm not doing that, I don't want to do this. So you learn about different approaches where you can go into a school and you can say, instead of saying, right guys, we're going to do dance, you get them involved in an activity. So again, we'll relate it to sports maybe, and you might have them in groups saying, right, I want you to come up with 4 or 5 different formations or movements to do with playing basketball. And without them actually realizing they're actually doing moves that are in like involved in dance. And then obviously as the week goes on, or the next class, you can slowly introduce it again. And oh guys, we're going to add a bit of music to it. And then you're 3-4 weeks into it, and they might not have actually realized they've done dance for the last 4 weeks and they've really enjoyed it. So you learn little kind of things, little techniques to how to introduce it to a classroom, for example.
A question came in, and thank you for that. Hours a week that you spend in lectures. Obviously, this will differ from semester to semester, from year to year, but a rough estimate
Yeah.
or rough gauge.
At the moment, I think I'm roughly about 10 hours this semester. So this is is third year, semester 1. But in first year, I think it was about 15 maybe, if I can remember correctly, about maybe 12 to 15 in first year. And there's probably a little bit more P side of things and education side of things in first year. And then there's 2 maths modules in first year.
Thanks for that question, and thanks for acknowledging. Thanks, Gary, for that as well. I'm going to put you on the spot a bit, and obviously you have lots to still encounter, but favorite experience so far, something that stands out for you so far in your journey in DCU?
I suppose just with my journey, probably one of the highlights was actually just the first day and the whole kind of process behind it, thinking about going back to teaching, actually deciding to go back to teaching, and actually sitting in the first lecture of my first day in DCU, kind of just sitting around and be like, do you know what, I'm actually delighted. This is probably one of the best decisions that I've made. So I suppose that is one of the highlights. I suppose other highlights would be getting to know everyone in my course pretty much, even the biology side, because it's such a small class. It's one of the good things about DCU, such a small class size, that within, I'd say 2-3 weeks maybe, I actually got to know pretty much everyone in the course, and we're quite a close group, which is always nice. We're always looking out for each other, helping each other when it comes to assignments, assessments, exams, practicals. So it's a bit of a like what we like to call it, a PE family at the moment.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the things. And just as you were talking there, I was just recalling my own sports science and health degree in DCU, and how I still stay in touch with many of the classmates and that kind of community feel. And I'm going to ask a little bit about ambassadors, being a student ambassador now in a second as well. But you probably have, I guess, that community feel inside the classroom, whatever support that you need when you go around the campus, be it support, be it finance, be it the library, be it careers. There's so many supports outside. And then the third area I want to ask you about a little bit is around your student ambassador journey. Maybe give people a sense of what is a student ambassador, and I guess maybe some of the opportunities you've got off the back of that.
Yeah, well, I began my journey as a student ambassador, obviously walking into the room with yourself, and I think it was Margaret at the time, I think it was. And from there, obviously, it's a great opportunity as a student ambassador to represent DCU, to put DCU on the map, to talk about the college, the experiences. And I think it's great as it's coming firsthand from students. And the good thing about the student ambassadors, we're from all different courses. So I can talk about my course. Olivia, for example, was obviously on a bit earlier chatting about her course. We've so many that can, if we were all to meet up, we'll say all the ambassadors, we could actually probably cover every faculty, pretty much every course as well, which is always good when we're at events. And again, like we were saying a bit earlier, it's like a family, even though we mightn't see each other because we're all in different courses. But anytime we come together, it's as if we it's as if we see each other every day, pretty much. And there's that kind of close bond, good bit of banter as well. And just a close-knit group, and they get on really, really well together.
Yeah, maybe that's one of, maybe to summarize just that little passage of conversation, it's just really a connection. And I don't want to put words in your mouth by any means, but certainly from my experience, I'm a staff member now, but certainly being as a student, it's that kind of connection that you have. And when you leave, that connection is still there and they stay in touch and they invite you back to events and they have speakers. At the moment, there's virtual events going on as an alumni when you pass out. So it's not just as um, as well. It's when you pass out, and in some cases, sometimes there's an argument that it's even more of a connection. So we have a couple of minutes left. One question that came in, if you do have a question, please do ask it in, and thank you so far, Gary. When it comes to school placement, how often are you out in schools and in what years?
So in second year, you'll be out on school placement for about 4 weeks. So you do 1 week observation before Christmas. And then when the schools go back in January, you're out for teaching for 3 weeks. Then the way it works in third year, you go on observation. So literally when the school starts back, whatever school you're assigned to, and when it starts back, you have, I think it's 3 days, or we were supposed to have 3 days observation, and then 3.5 weeks of actual teaching. And then in fourth year, you have between 12 and 14 weeks. So it's pretty much all of semester two of your college experience in fourth year. Just one other thing to touch on the placement. So in second year and fourth year, the university give you a list of schools that are within a certain radius of DCU. So you have a selection to choose from, and obviously it comes on, you can put down a preference list, and then I think it's selected at random. Obviously if you have a certain school at the top of your list and no one else does, then obviously you are given that school. But if 10 people have that at the top of the list, it's randomly selected. The good thing about third year is, again, we didn't get to experience this unfortunately, but we find our own school. So whatever part of the country you're from, you can actually get your placement in a local school or a school nearby to where you live or where you're coming from, which is always a nice experience because it could potentially set you up for the future and for future jobs, future opportunities. If you wanted to go back to an old school, I'm sure a lot of people would have good contacts as well from their time in school.
Yeah, very good. I just want to summarize. I want to ask you one last question. Then we have the quick fire round. Olivia got 1 out of 3 in round 1 in session 1. So I hope you get more
Hopefully
than 1 out of 3.
Better.
So we spoke a little bit, and I know this is such a short window, 30 minutes, spoke a little bit around the modules that you cover, the work placement, the practical opportunities, the resources, the supports on campus, the facilities on campus, the connection that you have, the opportunity to visit different parts of the campus, depending on what you're interested in, etc. So covered quite a wide range. If you're maybe giving advice to yourself a couple of years ago, and there mightn't be any, in terms of what would you do differently?
I suppose it's a very, very good question because it gets you to really think. But I suppose what the advice I'd give myself is just to believe in myself a bit more, and at the end of the day, it's you against you. It's not you against everyone else. As long as you're developing, as long as you're improving as an individual, whether that's academics, sports, personal life, I think that's the most important thing to look at, because when we start to compare yourselves with other people or people around you or people from your group or outside your group, because everyone's so unique, everyone's so different, everyone has different sets of skills that no one's the same. So to try be like that person is probably never going to happen, but for you to become a better person yourself, there's endless opportunities for that. So that's probably the advice I'd give myself, and just to be a bit more kind of confident when it comes to making decisions to go back to DCU and to college.
Yeah, it's probably a fitting way to maybe finish a round off the conversation. And I guess every time I've worked with you or maybe met you for a cup of tea or even these types of conversations, you always come away from it more enlightened, but more, I guess, of a truer sense. I remember we talked about higher purpose one time around why you wanted to go back to teaching and help out younger people and so on. It's just a strong, I guess, purpose to have. And I've no doubt the next when you're writing your book and doing your few dances that you've now mastered. We'll be seeing and hearing lots more about you. Before I let you go, I just want to mention we're just nearly out of time, but we're not going anywhere. Obviously, we're going to finish this conversation in a couple of minutes' time, but we're always here to help on studenthelp@dcu.ie. We're here every Wednesday from 4 to 5 live. We have blogs. We're across all social media channels. We have our open day. First open is November 20th and 21st. So there's so many opportunities to hear from Gary and his colleagues and the student ambassador team, as well as myself and my colleagues on the staff side of things the next couple of months. And we're here to help anytime, whatever platform that you need. We're always here to help. Gary, actually, no, we have to do the quick fire round. Apologies. You're just about to get away. So Olivia went for questions 2, 4, and 6. So you're getting 1, 3, and 5.
Hopefully not the short straw.
Hopefully not the short straw. So what did we say? Let me see. Okay, so 3 questions. DCU became a university in what year?
Became a university it opened, I think, do we get bonus points for this? I think it opened in 1980, but became a university in 89.
That's very true. You don't get bonus points, but hopefully Olivia's not listening. 1 point. It's a multi-choice answer, this one. Clubs and societies has 20, 40, or over 140?
Definitely over 140.
Definitely over 140. And true or false, there is a swimming pool on one of the DCU campuses?
True.
True. 3 out of 3. Olivia has just wrote in, I was robbed with them questions. Olivia, you chose 2, 4, and 6. Unfortunately, so you had the power. So I do apologize, but it is your fault, Olivia. Gary, without further ado, I won't take more of your time. We're just running into 5 o'clock and a minute to go, and everyone that's watching as well. So just a thank you on behalf. I hope it was of value to those that are listening and watching. Thanks for the questions. We will be putting these up online as recorded presentations as well, so you can check back in with us. Gary, thank you for your time.
Always a pleasure, Johnny, and hopefully we'll things go back to normal. We'll be able to have a coffee or tea in the Helix again soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Gary. Much appreciated.
Cheers, Johnny. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Before I let everybody go, just to remind you that we have episode 2 coming up next week. We'll speak to Kevin from nursing and Sarah from psychology. So that's Wednesday the 14th. So each week, each Wednesday from 4 to 5, we are live here with you and giving you as much as we can in terms of insights to DCU. Don't forget, you'll find us across all social media channels. We also have blogs, podcasts, and course pages with much more information. Or reach us at studenthelp@dcu.ie. Thank you for listening to today's episode of In Conversation With. I have been your host, Johnny Cooper, and we'll talk to you really soon.